this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to talk to you about my experiences with the Samsung Odyssey G9 2 years later. So this is a gaming monitor that I have been using as my main monitor for the last 2 years. I originally unboxed and reviewed it back in 2020, and now 2 years later I want to talk to you about my experiences after using this monitor on a daily basis. I have used a number of other monitors in the meantime, including the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9, the new and improved version of this monitor. But if you've seen that versus video, you'll know that I didn't think the upgrades made it worth the extra cost for selling my monitor and purchasing that newer model. In fact, I'm happy enough with this monitor that I will stick with it, and I have thought hard about whether there are any other options that I'd consider, and the answer is I don't think there are. I think that this monitor ticks a lot of boxes for me, and I'm going to talk about why, as well as showing you footage from a number of different games and my experiences and the features of it as we go through this video, because I want to give it a long-term demonstration of what's good about it, what I've been doing with it, and how I've been playing with it. Now, you'll see a lot of different clips in this video from various different time periods over the last couple of years where I've been testing out different things. So you'll see different keyboards appearing, for example, and a variety of different games I've tested in both full widescreen with that glorious 32:9, 5120 by 1440p aspect ratio, so really big aspect ratio. Also, I've upgraded my system a number of times over the last couple of years as well, so now I have a bit more processing power. When I originally reviewed this monitor, I had a 2080 Ti, and now I'm packing a 3090, so I have a little bit more processing power under the hood in my gaming PC in order to push this monitor. And it is something that you do need a lot of power to push if you're running games on the maximum settings in this maximum ultra wide glorious view that you can see here. Obviously, with graphics cranked up as high as possible, frame rates will suffer, and that's what I found when I originally played on it and when I originally tested it, and that's what I covered in my original review. Is one of my complaints was that if you wanted to put everything up to maximum, your PC would probably struggle to get a decent FPS. Now, things have improved. Obviously, drivers have come a long way since then. My hardware has improved as well. My experience is a much better one, a much smoother one. It does, however, vary depending on the games you're playing. If you're running Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, on its maximum settings, the FPS is still pretty low. But I'm willing to take that trade-off in terms of the visuals, because as you'll see from these various different shots, the G9 is a fantastic monitor. Now, these shots won't do it justice. I think that the Odyssey G9 is something that you have to experience in person in order to appreciate. I've had a number of friends come over and play on it and just be fully immersed by the glory of it. Now, obviously, 49-inch monitor, and it has a large curve to it, so it has a really decent curve, but not one that's so shocking that when you sort of start using it, you think, wow, this is ridiculous, it's really horribly curved. It actually works really well to let you look around the screen. Now, in my reviews and versus videos on this monitor in the past, I've had people comment about how you'd get neck ache from having to turn your head and things like that. I don't think that's the case at all. My experience is if you position it correctly on your desk, you basically are absorbed into the game. It makes gaming a lot more immersive. Essentially, the sides of the monitor, so the very edges, become your peripheral vision. So you're fully immersed in the experience. Obviously, you mostly spend your time looking at the center, and then everything on the outside of that view is in your peripheral vision, just as it is in real life. If you're wandering around and absorbing the world around you, you're not constantly turning your head to look at everything. You are experiencing it through your peripheral vision as well. And this is a really immersive experience, and one that you really need to experience in order to understand what it's like. Once you go ultra wide, you don't go back. When you go super ultra wide, like this 49-inch 32:9 monitor, you really do find the experience changes. There are some downsides, as I mentioned in my original review. Gaming developers don't tend to account for ultra-wide games, and they especially don't account for super ultra-wide games. So what you'll find is often the black bars appear at the top and bottom of the screen and at the sides, and cutscenes are squashed down into a tiny box, which really ruins the immersion. But if you're concentrating mainly on the actual gameplay and the shots that you're seeing here, you'll notice a much more immersive experience. Now, the other thing that I really like about this monitor, and one of the reasons it's one of my favorites and highly recommended, is essentially you can split it into two. So on a regular basis, I have my computer plugged in with two DisplayPort cables. I then have it in picture-by-picture mode, which essentially turns the screen into two different screens, separated with just a line down the middle, obviously. And you then have the ability to be a bit more productive. And this is how I mostly use it on a daily basis. I generally have the two screens side by side, so it's like having two monitors, except it's one big one with a slight curve in it. There's no break, there's no bezels, in the same way it would be if you jam two monitors up against each other. You instead have these sort of seamless experience of the whole screen being there. So here you can see me chopping up and editing video, checking on what sort of clips I want to use, where I'm going to position them, which ones I want to look at. I can sort of sample what they look like on the left screen, make sure I'm happy with those clips, and then drag them into Vegas Pro on the right. And obviously flicking between these with ease. Now, this picture-by-picture mode enables you to do various things. Obviously, this is in Windows 11. You can snap multiple windows together, and I'll show you that more in a second. But what I actually do when I'm running in a bit more of a productive way, sometimes I'll have two windows on one side and two on the other. I might have Explorer or Chrome on one side or both together, and you can see a sample shot here where I'm basically streaming. So this is another use case that I like to use, where when I'm streaming gameplay at the weekends, because Twitch and YouTube don't play nicely with the 32:9 aspect ratio, you can use the screen, so you're essentially having a 16:9 1440p display instead at 120 Hz refresh rate on the right hand side. So I've got Rainbow Six Siege on the right hand side on that screen there, and on the left hand side I then have OBS, or Streamlabs OBS, or Streamlabs as it's now known, and obviously the stream chat and maybe Discord and other things in there. So you're basically treating it like a dual monitor setup but in a single PC solution. Now, I have upgraded my monitor since I originally purchased it, and recently, very recently, I purchased an Ergotron arm, which is an expensive upgrade to the monitor, but essentially allows you to maneuver the monitor around in various different positions. So rather than being stuck on the standard monitor stand, you have a bit more flexibility. Now, this is one of my complaints about the monitor, is the stand I found over time wasn't that great. I'd adjust it all the way up to its maximum height and it would drop down a little bit. It wouldn't sit where I wanted it to. It wasn't as good. I feel like the stand wears out a little bit over time. So this is a really nice upgrade, which makes it a lot more flexible, because I can move it closer to me, I can move it back, I can move it left and right, I can move it up and down, you can tilt it, you can turn it. It is, however, a very expensive purchase, because you need a really expensive monitor arm to be able to support the weight of a 49-inch monitor. I think this purchase speaks to my love for this monitor and the fact that I'm willing to spend money on it, and I'm not thinking about how I might be upgrading my monitor in a couple of months, because unlikely that I'll find anything that ticks all the boxes in terms of the flexibility of what this offers. So, as I said already, the picture-by-picture mode lets me do my streaming and my productivity, but then when I want to, I could just flick that picture-by-picture mode off. So you can turn that off within the monitor's settings and then go into the single display, basically telling your PC that you're running a single massive monitor. Then obviously also you can take advantage of the 240 Hz at 5120 by 1440. So you've got a bigger resolution, a faster refresh rate across the two. So if you split it into P by P, you basically have two 120 Hz refresh rate monitors at 2560 by 1440, but if you go full screen you can get 240 Hz across the entire thing. So there are some differences in the settings. Now, the other minor gripes I've had is if you ever need to update the firmware, it's a real pain, because you have to get a USB stick or a thumb drive and insert that into the back of the monitor. You have to find the right model number for your monitor. You have to download the firmware manually. You can't update it through software. It's a real pain. I found it a real chore for that system. But that is a minor complaint that I have. The other highlights that I really like are the eye saver. So there's an eye saver mode, which you can turn on, that illuminates a lot of the blue light. This makes it a lot easier to work on during the day. So if I'm doing something that requires a lot of white screens, a lot of white on black or black on white, and the text is going to hurt my eyes over time. If I'm spending a lot of time looking at the monitor, I want it to make it easier on my eyes, and that blue screen compensation really makes life a lot more comfortable. So the overall experience is fantastic. I would highly recommend this to anybody that's considering it. There are a number of complaints online with people saying there are issues with the quality. However, I haven't had any experience on myself. It has served me well over the last couple of years. The original one that I got when I reviewed it was a review sample directly from Samsung, and that had to go back. And at that point, I was so pleased with it and so enthralled with the device that I decided to purchase one myself. I bought one and I got exactly the same experience. No issues with it at all. Fantastic looking monitor, loads of great gaming experiences, and a really fantastic all-round joy. The only downside is I have a lot of cables on my desk. Just look at the chaos, and that's because I'm testing out multiple things, so don't judge me too hard. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, and be sure to check out the links in the description to the other videos, including the one on the Neo G9 if you're curious. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.